tonight, could we stand for the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And call that you lead us in prayer, please.
Dear Lord, gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we just ask that you please, Lord, just be with us tonight. We face some difficult decisions to make, and we just ask that you're with each and every one of us, and we need to do what's best for our citizens and for our little city. We just ask that you please, Lord, be with each and every one of us. Amen.
Amen.
Councilman Willis?
Here.
Councilwoman McCann? Here. Councilwoman Patton? Councilwoman McClure?
Here.
Councilwoman Cantu?
Here.
Councilwoman Pugh?
Here.
Need a motion, second, for the suspend the reading and approve the minutes of the February 5th, 2024 regular meeting. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Councilman Willis?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCann?
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton?
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Pugh?
Yes.
Do we have the electric plant board report?
Forget my glasses around my pocket. Well, basically, we're still working with Acumen to meet with AEP and Kentucky Power as well. We're trying to get the best deal they can on the new contracts for purchase electric power. Let's see what else. I guess that's about the only update I have. It's supposed to meet, so when I have the meeting next week, we'll probably find out what kind of, they'll have an idea.
Know roughly what the rates are at that point, or what they're looking at, or?
No, they do set those rates. What they're trying to do in negotiation is this rate, but can't go beyond this rate. What's hurting now is the fuel surcharges that the AEP and KEP is putting on, but that goes to the federal. The federal puts these surcharge taxes on them, and then they have to pass them on to the electric companies and the power companies, and then they're passing them on to our utility company. I will say that for 3 months, that our utility company absorbed that they used all of their funds they had in reserve to avoid rate increase. So hopefully, it's very, from what was explained to us in our board meetings, is everywhere the electric power is just unpredictable. The whole market is unpredictable now. But a lot of it is going back to our federal government passing down these charges, and it's falling off. It goes all the way down to the customers, as you know. But hopefully they'll have some idea, or have someone. We did have like three interested in doing contracts, and they're not going to do a long contract as well, like they had before. The past contract was like 20 years, so that's unheard of now. That's all I have.
I just have a question. I know we're getting ready to do the second reading of some of the ordinances, and there are quite a few people here tonight that are interested, they're business owners, and they'd like to voice their opinion about the alcohol tax. And we have the floor open after we do our vote. Would they have the opportunity to speak before our vote?
I'll open that floor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let's do the second reading of ordinance number 540.36, the closing of Old School Lane.
I guess I do have a question about that. I had a property owner that contacted me that I guess technically doesn't have property adjacent to that lane, but has an interest on Harper Street, and was just had some questions about, by closing this, I mean, there's some things that are going to be potentially cut off there. I guess from the ordinance stance, do we just have to have the adjacent property?
That's all they have to have is what's on each side of the street, is that correct?
It's closed from end to end. And so the property that touches it is owned by one person.
So essentially, like he owns the property on the side of Harper Street, so he doesn't touch it, touch that.
Right.
And that's private.
The roads that run this way are still open, the road that runs this way will be closed.
Even though it affects those lanes essentially by closing that.
Well, from a legal standpoint, it doesn't affect them because they're still open to go this way. Now, you won't be able to drive across what will become that one individual's property, but you can still go up and down. You just can't go, I don't know how it lays, but in my example, side by side.
Right, they're city streets, right?
Right.
The concern that he had was simply, if you had to get an ambulance down there or a fire truck, how to get them out without.
Well, I will say this, the owner of that has, when he bought it, and I hope I'm not talking out of school, but, you know, he told me, he said, I don't want to do anything with that riverfront. He said, but people coming across that, the school has actually been broken into twice since he's had ownership of it. And he said when they come across there, of course, the lights are shining right into his house, his bedroom. And he said at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're getting up to make sure somebody's not going into the school. And he pretty graciously said, you know, he said, I wouldn't even care if there was, you know, picnic table there and people wanted to, you know, it's got a great river view and stuff. So it's not like he's wanting to build a 30-foot privacy fence or nothing like that. I think he just wants a little bit of control of what he's got.
Right. I guess my only concern is the people on those streets that, I mean, essentially they reached out today, but, you know, how does that affect them and on their main roads and that type of thing? So.
When regardless, if they go up there and park, they're gonna, the ones on the end, River School end has to back up when they do.
They will now.
Well, they had to before, didn't they?
No, I think
If
people
they park
use
in
that
front of
road
their
as a
house.
turnaround. I think he said the trash uses it as a turnaround, police use it to come through when they do their loops. I just didn't know as far as that.
I don't know if I talked to the same person or not, but I know it does say here, whereas the owners of the real estate lying to either side of Old School Lane between John and Harper Street have agreed to the closing. The gentleman owns all those properties on Harper Street, right down to Old School Lane and a little
Harper
past.
Street's not in effect here. It's Old School Lane that's in effect, and it's the property on each side of Old School Lane, which one side is the riverfront, the other side is the old grade school.
So it's not involving the houses there?
It involves.
Because he said nobody ever talked to him about it.
Or
No,
John Street, either one.
just the property behind the
Yeah,
school.
just property behind
Was
school.
that open originally, when they put the Head Start in there and was using it for the busing?
They use
Because I don't recall, when I was a child, it wasn't open.
Yeah. Well, we played ball there, but that's 60 years ago. I said, we played ball there, but that's 50, 60 years ago, so I don't know.
We never were behind the school, we were always just the playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
I don't know if it was there or not.
Was anybody
But
like,
what you're saying is, if there was, like, people on John Street and people on Harper Street, God forbid if there's an emergency, the ambulance or fire truck, they can still use that as a turnaround.
Well, I mean, that's up to the property owner, you
If
know.
it's closed though, if he fences it off, then
I can see how
that.
Well, he's never said that. so.
But there is quite a bit of room between,
There's room to turn around there.
yeah, they're on.
And I would suppose every one of those
city
houses have
street.
their own driveway.
I'm assuming they do, I don't know for
I
sure.
don't remember
I didn't pay attention to that, I guess necessarily today, but I do know it would seem tight if cars are, if they've got space occupied and they're using that area. And they may be using that street, school lane to park somewhere, I don't know. You know, and that's a whole different thing too, I think, but,
But as far as the Harper Street and John Street, between Harper, John's a little bit wider, isn't it? Harper's the first street.
Yeah.
Yes.
But as far as where the city owns the street and the city owns like a right of way there, it's grassy areas and that attaches to the school property.
Yeah. I mean,
There is a little bit of
There's
right of
concrete,
way there.
there's a concrete abutment at the end of the school property on both sides.
That's right.
I mean, Harper and John both.
Yeah.
Anybody want to hear the second reading of that?
I would like to hear.
An ordinance to the City of Vanceburg, Kentucky to close Old School Lane between John Street and Harper Street, City of Vanceburg, Kentucky, and other matters. And that's your second reading.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion.
I'll say.
Councilman Willis,
no.
Councilwoman McCann,
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton,
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Pugh.
No, only out of concern for emergency vehicles.
Joe Paul, who do we have down on the list there?
Jared Lewis.
Do you want to see if anyone wants a second reading first?
Oh, hold on a second.
I've got the second
I'm
reading of the
sorry.
alcohol, that's okay. I've got a second reading of the alcohol ordinance. Does anyone on council want to hear the second reading?
Yes, I do. please.
Okay, all right. So this is the second reading. Can you all discuss it? In order to the City of Vanceburg, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 410-05D, increasing the regulatory fee from 2.5% of the gross sale of alcoholic beverages to 5% of the gross sale of alcoholic beverages. That's your second reading.
Jeff, would you like to speak?
Jared Lewis, I'm manager of Back Alley Spirits on Fairland Drive next to Sunoco. You know, I understand that the original tax was to support the police, and I support them, and I think that there's got to be a better way than placing a tax on everybody, because, it's hard enough for us to compete with people in Maysville and Portsmouth, you know, the Kroger's over there, and I walk into Kroger sometimes and I see stuff cheaper than I can even buy it for. You know, I can spend $50,000 on one product to try to get it, and Kroger's still selling it for like the same price that I'm getting it from my distributor for. And then, it just seems like a move to move our business out of town, you know. It's hard enough running a small business in a town like Vanceburg, you know, especially as high as electric is, and I understand y'all were speaking about that. It's really tough, and things like this Crown Royal Blackberry, it's a new product that they released, a lot of people want it, you know, and they wouldn't even let our store get a case of it. They gave 7 cases to Kroger to sell, and then they sold out like in 2 or 3 hours. You know, that could have really helped us. We could have made a lot of money and had a lot of income when people come from out of town to buy from us, you know. And, things like that could really help us, but Kroger and all these big corporations and big chains, they already get so much favoritism, we can't compete with them. And so, I support small business. Anytime I can go to Ginn's Hardware to get any of my tools or building supplies or whatever, you know, I do whatever I can to spend my money here in town, because those big corporations, they don't care about our community. I'm here in the community, I care about the community, and I try to keep the money in it. And I do everything that I can to support the community, and I think everybody else should. And I understand there's both sides to an argument. And I mean, if there's, maybe there's a middle ground, maybe we could move it to 3% or something. If they need more money, maybe we could reevaluate. Maybe, I would even be willing to help with a fundraiser if the police need money, because I was under the understanding that that's what the tax was for, and I mean, we gotta come together, but 2.5%, that's doubling the tax that we already have. And it's already, I mean, pretty high, and it's tough to keep up with, and I feel like it's just gonna push a lot of our business out of town. And a lot of people are already in, like, sometimes people come from out of town looking for rare bourbons and stuff when we can finally get them. And, they're just not gonna wanna come, so they gotta pay a bunch of extra tax on them, because some of those bottles are like $200 bottles, and 2.5% tax on top of that makes a big difference. And some of them are even more expensive than that. And so people would go other places instead of here. And I mean, it's not just the liquor stores, that goes for all the gas stations around here, everybody. And so a lot of people that work out of town, they might like to spend money at home, so maybe they come home, get their gas when they get home, but if they're already in Maysville working, they're more likely to just buy everything while they're in Maysville. And they're just gonna spend more money outside of town. And I just don't think it's a good idea. It's just gonna hurt us, hurt small business. And I mean, we need to find a good compromise, if the police need money, we need to find a way to help, but I don't think this is the answer. I don't think set tax, maybe even a tax with a sunset clause or something, to where they get the money they need, but I mean, definitely not an indefinite tax. I mean, I think that we need to find some other solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. Maysville, tax is 6% on alcohol. Greenup County is 6%, and Grayson is 7%. Moorhead's is 6%. But they also have restaurant taxes in these cities. We are here to have a city, and without tax revenue, no government exists. And that's just something I just wanted to make a comment about. Our payroll tax, 1%. It's 6 and 7% in these other cities and higher, and they pay it to county and city. We are a small community, I understand that, but we also have a budget to have what we have here to provide streets and festivals, 24/7 police department, and don't forget our fire department. And some of the funding that we get now is we didn't even have 20 years ago. And we've not raised property taxes here in 50 years. And in this economy, we cannot continue to have a city without increasing the taxes to be fair. And we have the lowest property tax. We have no fire tax to support our fire department that we put on our property taxes. We have a lot to manage here. And I just wanted to throw that out there, that our taxes is more than half right now of anywhere else people are buying alcohol in other cities, whether it's in a restaurant, whether it's in a carry-out. They're paying higher taxes than what we even want to charge by doubling ours. The 2.5% was 2018. Am I correct?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. It was originally set at 5%. And I'm the one that's guilty here of bringing up the fact of trying the 2.5 at first and then revisiting it the next year, which we didn't do.
But then we.
So it's been, what,
6
6 years?
I thought we brought it up once, but we voted no on it. Am I wrong on that?
I'm sorry.
I thought we had brought it up, it was on an agenda at one time and we voted no. Is that incorrect? Maybe I did. I thought we did. I appreciate both of your
Since
comments.
Dan became mayor, we brought it up and post-COVID, and we decided not to do it.
Well, there was 2 years there, I wasn't here, so maybe it was
Yeah.
during that time.
Yes.
Angie, your comments are great, but when you are saying how tough it is for the city to keep going, what do you think these businesses are going through?
Well, I had a
It's
small
business
business, and I
here,
know what they're
believe
going
me.
through.
It was a struggle.
Could I offer a brief response?
Yes.
Like, well, she mentioned a lot of cities that surround us, you know, all those cities have a lot more jobs, they have a lot more industry, you know, and they have a lot more wealth in their towns. And, you know, government doesn't create jobs, tax money doesn't create jobs, you know. Once you get the jobs in, then you can raise the taxes on the people because they're actually able to work, you know, make more money, work at home, and we're not driving 35 minutes to work every day and spending all the gas as high as it is. And I mean, I would like for I like it, Vanceburg to be small, you know. I don't really want a Walmart moving in and a Kroger, but all these places that you name, most of them have places like that. And I mean, that's why we can't compete with them already. And the only thing that we have going for us in town is that you do have to drive 25, 30 minutes to get to one of those other stores. And I mean, I wish that we could have somebody come and invest and build a business factory like they have in Black Oak, you know, and that we had the wealth that those places had, and then we would have more business, you know. But I mean, as low as our business is, it's really hard to do anything with an extra tax. Thank you.
But the bottom line is, we're not trying to raise a tax on, per se, I'm gonna use an example that was given to me. We're not trying to raise a tax on a food, baby diapers, formula. What we're raising a tax on is something that people don't have to spend money on. I mean, that's more like a luxury. They don't have to go out and buy that.
But these businesses are dependent on it.
That's
To
true.
be able to pay their bills, and I understand that so much.
The sin tax.
It's tough.
I'm not saying that it's a sin, I didn't say that. Those words never came out of my mouth.
Can I make a comment?
Are you on the,
No, because I thought we wasn't going to get a speak till after the vote, because that was the general policy. So I thought there wasn't going to be an open floor before the vote. So no, in first reading, I wasn't in town, I was out of town. But I would just like to say, if I can, that I understand what Angie's saying, but you're saying you haven't took a property tax increase, you haven't put a car tax on. All those taxes, everybody that lives in the city of Vanceburg has to pay. Everybody. And everybody in the city of Vanceburg gets the benefit of the police department and the fire department. But when you put that on our local businesses, you are setting out just one group of people that you're wanting to tax, that everybody in the city limits gets the benefit from. So, you know, we did own property in Vanceburg. And, you know, if you'd have put a different property taxes on it, you know, that's part of it. If the county does, I live in the county, we pay it. But if you tax something that everybody has to pay, that gets a benefit from living in city limits, that's a fair tax. But when you pick out a tax just for a certain group of people, it's not a tax, it's a punishment for doing business in the city of Vanceburg. And I mean, like he said, you know, Angie said, Brown County has tax, but they all have different distributors than we have. And we don't get to come and vote, we want this distributor, or we want that distributor. We get told by Frankfurt who we have to buy from, and that distributor sets our pricing. We have no control over it. And when he said about Kroger's, right now they are currently selling their beer $2 a case below our cost. Our beer already is $6 higher than Maysville. And you want more money, but you're only going to get less because our sales are going to drop. Because our workforce isn't in Vanceburg. Our workforce isn't even in Lewis County. It's out of the county. And when you go out of the county, you really have to like the local business owners of Vanceburg to come back and pay that much more money just to support somebody that's there.
Cody?
So I guess a couple things. Sir, I'm sorry, your name is Jared, right?
Yeah.
Jared, I appreciate you speaking. One thing I'll say is I actually did not get a chance to come out and talk to you all personally, and I apologize for that. I've talked to several of the business owners in town, most of them, in fact, I think yours was right, as of right now, the only one I didn't get to. I've had phone calls, not from just business owners, but people. I've been flagged down the street. I've received emails. I've yet to have anyone reach out and say, hey, this sounds like a great deal, do it, that type of thing. Fundamentally, I'm against taxes unless it's an absolute last resort. Okay, I think there are times that could get brought up. I don't believe this is a last case scenario. I think that being able to increase tax revenue without actually raising taxes is an ultimate goal that we have to try to come up with together. And I think the Sunday tax that was put on last council was a good thing. That increased revenue without actually, or being able to sell on Sundays without actually having to increase, that actual taxes. I think this does negatively impact business owners. Ultimately, the cost is passed on to consumers. A lot of this is things that you've already heard from them, so I'll kind of skip over some of that. I do believe, though, that if you mark this up, if you do this, you're going to get people shopping less in our community.
I agree with you very much. And I did talk to Jared on Sunday when I was out there about how they felt about the alcohol tax. And he said he was going to be here tonight. But I recall something that Shirley Cagle said to me once. And she made the comment because food, and we all know by just going to the grocery store how expensive food is. My gosh, it's awful. And she made the comment, our prices for food have gone up so much. But if I raise my prices, I'll lose a lot of customers and I'll probably lose my business. But if I don't raise them and do nothing, I'll still lose my business anyway. And that's really sad because I've had a small business here and it was so difficult to be able to just keep going. So I just feel bad for anybody that's in that situation, that they have families they've got to take care of. They've got to buy food, they've got to pay utilities, which are so high, that it's just not fair to push this on them.
So one thing too, I'll comment on a comment you made about our community. There is a nice piece of our community. There's a reason we live here. There's a reason that I think most of us try to be involved here. There's something nice about that. Like for me personally, I don't want to be in Maysville or in another county, another city. I chose to come here for some of these reasons. Number one, most important, is my family. But the other part of that is the ability to be in a community where things are a little bit lower cost. And by doing this type of thing, you're taking the people that want to be here, and it's a frustrating situation to a lot of us.
And if Susie Hobbs closes her business, which she said that very well may happen to her if this happens, well, we're not going to get any revenue from her business. We're not going to get payroll taxes or any kind of revenue from them. They'll be gone. And we've got to support our local businesses. That's so important. And I agree that the police department is so worthy of things. But if we can afford 4 new police cruisers, how are we affording that? Do we need to raise this tax for that reason?
I guess that's.
Would you prefer to raise property taxes on everyone? Or the payroll tax on everyone. I mean,
I think everyone makes a big difference, but when you're doing it just on a certain amount of people, that can ruin their business. And how many people always support people that are local businesses? Where did we get our Christmas dinner food the last 2 years? From Portsmouth, Ohio. We didn't get it here locally. That's just wrong. And you all know that.
One of the things also, that our business in Vanceburg is based on a 10-mile radius. If you live past my house at Heron Hill, you go to Tollsboro. Or to Flemingsburg if you live out 57. If you live at the mouth of Grassy, you go to Grayson or you go to Moorhead. If you live past Garrison, you go to Porches. And then we got the river on this side, you don't go nowhere. So we are concentrated just on about a 10-mile radius of customers. And those people that live within that 10-mile radius, some of them, most of them, on fixed income, elderly, they never leave this county to go to Maysville. They don't drive out of the county. They don't drive no place but right here. And that's what I said, it's a punishment for them to be in the area. It's a punishment to be in our community. And we've never been about that. We've been about our community. The people of Lewis County and Vanceburg have always been people-oriented. And this is not about people.
Now's the time. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the increase.
I'll second.
Councilman Willis,
No.
Councilwoman McCann,
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton,
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure,
No.
Councilwoman Cantu,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Pugh.
No.
Yeah. It's worried about for the job.
Yes, sir. New business, we have Lord Deerfield presenting the 22-23 fiscal year audit.
So what happened since this was a tie vote?
Mayor Jones. Congrats,
Mayor's voting for,
I did.
yeah, I didn't hear that. You voted for the tax. Okay. That says a whole lot about how you feel about the businesses in our community.
Okay, I passed out the green bound report for everyone. I'll just kind of briefly go through it. On pages 2, 3, and 4 are independent auditor's report. To summarize, it says we've audited the company financial statements as of June 30, 2023. And in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with all professional standards. We conducted our audits in accordance with all professional standards. Management is responsible for the fair presentation of the financial statements. It goes on to say our responsibilities for conducting an audit. Also mentions there's some required supplemental information. The pension and OPEB schedules are required supplemental information. And new this year, on page 4, it mentions there's supplemental schedules. The schedule of federal awards is new this year. And then at the bottom there, there's a report in accordance with government auditing standards in the back that I'll go through. Page 5 is the statement of net position, and this is a government-wide basis, so it includes fixed assets, debt, everything is here. First column is the government activities, which is your general fund, special revenue funds. Second column, business type activities, is the sanitation fund, and then there's a total for the city. And then the far right column is the electric plant board. So you can see on there, total assets for the city is about 3.4 million. Total liabilities, a little over 2 million. The net pension liability at the end of the year was about 1.1 million. The OPEB liability, almost 300,000. $1.6 million. You want to turn over to page 7. This shows the balance sheet for the general fund and the special revenue fund. So for the general fund, there's total assets of $955,000. Total liabilities of $41,000. This excludes your fixed assets and excludes your debt. So it just shows current financial resources, basically. Page 9 then shows revenues and expenses. So total revenues were about $1.4 million. Total expenses a little over $1.4 million. So there was a deficiency of almost $22,000. We did sell some assets, $70,000. So as a result, you did have an increase of about $75,000 in fund balance. Page 11 shows your sanitation fund, which had total assets of about $191,000, total liabilities of $263,000. So we did have a deficit net position of $89,000. Which again includes your pension and OPEB liabilities. So that's really what causes that deficit. Page 12. Revenues of the sanitation was about $152,000, expenses about $145,000. So overall, there was an increase of about $12,000. Page 13 converts that to a cash flow basis. On a cash flow basis, cash did decrease almost $2,200 for the year. Then we get into the notes, starting on page 14. I'm not going to go through all of those. I will just point out on page 23, you did have capital asset additions of about $182,000. Depreciation was about $165,000. Then at the bottom of the page there, it shows your debt. You had a note payable of $3,550. Going to the next page, you have the bond on the fire station with a balance of $110,500 at the end of the year, so total debt of a little over $114,000, not counting the Kentucky Housing Corporation loan. That has a balance of a little over $242,000, but that will become forgivable June 30th, 2024. So time is finally coming up soon on it. But basically, you incurred no new debt for the year, and you paid down $48,510 in debt. That was for your general special revenue. At the bottom of the page, you do also have a loan outstanding on sanitation, $99,469, of which you paid down almost $22,000 yet for the year.
That loan there was paid off, but
In this fiscal year, though.
Yeah.
Must be right, it must have been right after year end. Yeah. But that's good to know. Page 25 shows when your debt comes due. So the business top there's, I guess, a new point since you paid it off after year end. At the top there shows $12,860 will come due on your other debt. Then it gets into the pension, OPEB disclosures. I'm not going to go through those. Page 31, footnote 9 shows a summary of your grant receivable at year end. You had some collect funds, about $2,900. The KIA pass-through grant that goes to the electric plant fund was almost $115,000 due at year end. There's also payable to them for the same amount. Then some municipal road aid of $33.50. Page 32 and 33 shows the budget and actual for the general fund. You can kind of look down through there. Your total revenues did come in above budget, about $127,000. Total expenses also came in above budget, though, by $109,000. So we did have a positive variance there of $18,640. Then the next couple pages are the pension and OPEB supplemental schedules and the footnotes for those. I won't go through those. And the new schedule I'll mention to you on, was it
page 40. Yeah, page 40, kind of small. Is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. As I mentioned to you, since the grant money to the electric tank board did pass through the city, you're required to have a single audit. Your major programs were the CDBG grant and the Appalachian Area Development, but there was a total of 2.7 million federal money. I believe the coronavirus relief money was actually the city's, 187,000. The next report, 4142, is our report on internal control and compliance in accordance with general auditing standards. Basically, as part of doing the audit, we look at your internal controls, we test for compliance with laws and regulations, and if we have any findings, it'll be in this report, but we did not have any. Then the next report, 43, 44, and 45 is the one required by a single audit. And I mentioned to you those two federal programs. We tested internal controls of those and for compliance with the grant agreements and had no findings to include in that report, so this is the report. 46 is a summary the federal government likes to basically see, basically no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or compliance findings, so that's clean. Then in the back is our standard communication to governance, which just mentions that there were a couple of standards that were adopted, however, they didn't have any impact on our city. There's also some estimates in the financial statements, the pension liability, OPEB liability, are big estimates. However, we tested those and determined they're reasonable. We encountered no difficulties in performing the audit. There were no past audit adjustments, no disagreements with management, and basically no other issues that we feel like we need to bring to your attention at this time. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, so no significant findings, it's great to hear. Are there any recommendations on anything as far as that?
I was gonna say, it's been a while since we was out in the field, but nothing comes to mind. If there had been like other recommendations, we would do what we call a management letter, another separate letter, so they would have been in that. So,
They need to vote to accept this.
yes.
Yes. Unless you all have any more questions about it, you are required to vote to accept it. You don't have to do it tonight, but you need to do it your next meeting. You don't have to tonight. Yeah.
Y'all have recommendations to set. The audit is presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Councilman Willis,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCann,
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton,
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Pugh.
Yes.
B is the resolution number 24.01, Crum Rubber Grant. Let me give you a little bit of heads up what this is. We're applying for an $8,590 loan grant, which is a 75/25. We will have to come up with $2,147.50. Whenever anybody hears Crum Rubber, the first thing you think of is what's around the flowers and all that, but they've asked for different creative ways to come up with other things, and they're making park benches and stuff like that out of this Crum Rubber now. And that's sort of what is one thing that I'd like to see is we've got to do this resolution. We don't know yet whether we can get the grant, but we have to have the resolution to apply for it. And if we got the grant, that's what I'd like for. It's like at the Veterans Park, I mean, probably the prettiest place in town, but we only got one bench that actually faces the river. And if you go down there and there's people eating whatever, somebody sitting on that bench, but that's what I'd like to say. It's for more than just, to decorate around the flowers, and that's what we're hoping to get it for is for the benches, because they're durable. They're very durable benches, but they're pretty expensive too. But that's, anyway, that's what I just wanted to say, why that is. We haven't gotten the grant yet, but we have to have this resolution to apply for.
So we need to make a motion on this resolution, we'll make a motion to set the resolution.
So basically, we're holding $2,100 aside for if we get that grant.
Yeah.
Spend it.
Yeah, and we've actually got, some of these grants are in kind.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, is there a way to
but
write
this
that off?
We actually will be, but those benches are, Brenda, what are they, $1,000?
About 800.
About 800 some a piece, so.
There's no way that we can match them in kind services, or has to be physical
No,
matching?
we have to, this is one we have to actually, but if we could get 10 benches for 2,100, I'll pay for it. Who made the motion?
Angie made a motion, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Councilman Willis,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCann,
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton,
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hughes.
Yes.
We have the first reading of ordinance number 220.10A, amending ordinance number 220.10, altering definitions and other matters. Stephen, you want to?
Yeah, I just find out what that is. The school board has a beef with the way the ordinance is written. I think they're wrong, but after I got a letter from their attorney, I decided the best thing to do is go ahead and take that argument away. So I'd like you all to ask me to have the first reading of it, and then we'll see if what the letter I got is accurate or not, once I read the language from it. And we're going to continue on with the lawsuit, by the way, in case it didn't help. So that's moving and cooking just like I told you it would. So, anyone want to hear that first reading?
I'm not
Please.
here.
An ordinance of the City of Vanceburg, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 220.10, altering definitions and other matters. And for the second reading next week.
We have to have an appointment on the Housing Authority Board, where Lowell Jordan is stepping down, and he has been on that board for several years. And anyway, due to health problems, and I'd like the appointment of Ian Cooper on the Vanceburg Housing Authority Board to replace Lowell Jordan. And let me tell you, this, don't want to get political here, but this is a board we have to have, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans on. It's, this is told to us by the federal government how this has to be, and anyway.
He's willing to go on.
He's willing to serve on, to serve on.
Ian's a good guy.
Yeah, Ian's a good guy, he's,
Need a motion?
need a motion,
I'll
yes.
make a motion to appoint Ian Cooper to the Housing Authority.
I'll second.
Councilman Willis,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCann,
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton,
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hughes.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, this is businesses and homes with no utilities. We're still fighting this. We're not picking up the garbage now, but the company that is. These people that doesn't have plumbing in their houses, that's running off generators, that's, I was at the boat docks today, and we're over there looking at playground equipment, and I keep hearing something running. I know it's not a boat down there, and I look across, and they've got a generator running out of the house, which it's not legal, can't be good. And the only thing that I'm bringing this up, something has to be done with this, Now, we can talk about this next meeting, we can do whatever, but I'm just telling you, we have got the trash sitting out. I can take you to South End, I can take you just about anywhere. And these houses that have no utilities, well, they're not paying the trash pickup. And I'm having complaints of rats and everything else of these houses where they're just throwing this garbage in the back. And I tried to approach this a couple years ago because I think we've got to do something to somebody's gotta be held accountable here, whether it's the landowner, whether it's the person in the house.
It should be the landowner.
Well, that's the thing, the person in the house that doesn't have the utility bills on, there's a pretty good chance they're probably not paying their bills to start with. But,
Does that
we do-
come under the blighted properties?
It does.
That's what I was thinking. Because I thought it was required to have, electric and utilities.
Well, that's,
Wouldn't it be up to the landowner to get those people out?
yeah.
I mean, we can run a property, I mean, there's proper steps that you take and you just get them
Put 'em
out of
out.
your, yeah.
Right.
I would say though,
I mean-
I think there's a pretty good
I
time.
think if there's any, if we could find the property owners for the nuisance. I mean, when you go to, we ticket the property owners for having that mess there.
They're the ones that ultimately has to see that it gets done.
That it gets cleaned up, and if they don't, then they're over here at court.
Well,
I mean-
that's what needs to be done,
We
in
had
my
that
opinion.
situation before, and we took them to court.
But I've got opposition to that a couple of years ago when I brought up about the landowners. And like Kathy said, they own a rental property, and that's the property owners are the one that's got to push the issue.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
So is there citations being written, is that?
Yes.
They're going to the landowners, correct? Because that's where they need to go.
No,
It's to the
I
landowner.
ain't writing the people that are at the residence.
At the residence.
But we need to,
What are they, what's becoming of the? What's the word?
The citation,
Citation, thank you.
They're just,
Are they giving,
they're not acknowledging it.
are they
And then-
not
but then
getting?
in
that's
the
when
past,
we
we
need,
did.
because I set their court dates and everything on that,
We took in.
so I'm waiting to get them into court.
So essentially, we've written citations, nothing's been done, but the court date hasn't came yet.
Most usually, the letter giving them 17 days will get them started.
But it,
But there's a few houses that's had multiple 7-day notices. And now, the only thing I haven't done is went back and looked at the land. Because people was moved in and out. They wasn't there, now they're back, the ones that actually caused the mess.
Okay.
So
So we've never had something actually go to court in 30 days. So what usually happens at that point?
Well, I mean, we have to wait for the court to proceed, don't we?
What's that?
We have to wait for the judge, for them to go before the
Yeah, they
judge.
gotta go before the judge, it's-
Yeah.
but I just haven't, most of them's been taken care of.
Yeah.
I just haven't had, now I'm getting close to the 30-day mark where they're gonna end up having to go to court.
I mean, ultimately, I would think that if they have to be, if they would have to be put in front of a judge, like, that would probably get someone's gear going quicker.
But I know
Eventually,
what
they
some of the places that he's talking about, I know what they're gonna end up doing, they're just gonna end up leaving that. Then I'll have to start the whole new process of getting the land.
Well, Stephen, let me ask you if this is right, because we went in and cleaned up certain properties. And matter of fact, it's on the agenda tonight about being able to put liens on the property and being able to force the sale of the property, is that right?
Sure, yeah.
And that sounds to the extreme, but that gets their attention.
Well, I personally think that we need something written up that goes after, straight to the landowner. Because that's their problem, they created that problem, they didn't, they created the problem by renting it to.
Well, this is what I preached 2 or 3 years ago, and back then as council.
Well, then you was wanting even the electric utility bills, though, when you was wanting, I thought that was on.
Well, that was part of it too.
Yeah, but I don't,
I'm not paying for nobody's
no,
utilities.
that's right, I don't agree with that. But if the landowners choose who they rent to,
Well, and like I said, it's not just everywhere, but there's not an end of the town that has missed this. There's an eyesore about on any street look
But
at.
as far as citations, I think they need to be sent to the landowner, not the county.
That's
I really
something
do.
we need to,
I'd send them both.
Yeah.
Send them both at the same time.
Send them to
Yeah,
both.
I mean, that's the easy way to do it, and, you'll get someone's attention. And I mean, Mayor, what you said is true. We filed several suits to sell people's real estate. And you hate to do it as a city, but it's the only way to keep the place cleaned up. There's people who just won't clean it. And so what we're hoping is we sell it, someone will buy it, and we'll keep it clean. Because that's the final analysis of it, that's what has to be done. So, if you start sending that to the landowner, sending a letter saying we're gonna clean it up, we're gonna put a lien on, people can go look at the paper, or look at the court docket, and see that that's exactly what's happening. The property's gonna get sold to the highest bidder, and someone else is gonna own it. And that may cause the people who allow that mess to, and I mean, it's the responsibility of the person living there, but as a landlord and landowner, it's also your responsibility, because you're the one we can look to as a city. And you're right. I mean, in every city I represent, what happens is the people who cause the mess, they don't move on and cause it someplace else. So that's why send it both. And then, as they say, let the judge sort it out. You're right?
Yep.
Because that's all you do, just sign it, and then
So,
the judges.
can we legally send when we give this to the renter that's there, can we go ahead and send one to the
I'll send
property
them
owner?
both of them, absolutely. Just send them both at the same time. Get the clock ticking. And maybe what you'll do is get lucky and you'll have some landowners who go read the riot act to the renter and say, clean it up, wrong victim.
Well, let me ask you this, if the renter, that's more than likely, he's there for a reason, leaves, and we clean that up, but we're still allowed to file a
As
lien
long as the renter is giving the notice.
okay,
Yeah.
And that's it.
on the land.
Right, give it to both.
No, that's a different notice when they go to the lien.
Okay, other question?
What if it's the owner of the property and the property isn't?
Just go after
Or
them.
just go directly to the
Joe Paul, are you still head of the blighted properties?
Am I to do what?
Head of the blighted properties?
I'm still writing tickets, writing.
Okay, I didn't know, 'cause I was thinking that was Laddie's job now, but no, you're still doing it.
I think that's two different things.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
I think that's two different.
Well, let me bring this up since I'll jump around on this agenda just a little bit, before we go into executive session. To be able to sell the property that we already had the liens filed against and the time period has lapsed on it, do we have to have a motion and a vote?
Well, we should give a judge's ruling. Do we have to? I don't think
In
so.
fact, what I'm trying to
Who else
say,
is gonna tell me that answer in the next 6 months? So, yeah. Not a bad idea.
what we have already filed on and we've already cleaned up, and we filed liens on, the time's lapsed, and what you're saying, we can force to sell it.
Yeah.
And some of these properties, I'm not putting the little old lady from Pasadena out. I mean, this is, we got a property in South End that was left to somebody and they died, they left somebody and they died. Now I have great stepdaughter cousins got it and nobody will respond to it.
Right.
And, you know,
Nobody wants to.
and I've actually got property right now that people are telling me that's been heirs, said, we'll give it to you. You know, you sell it, do what you want, so.
Is there something about that being mailed out like through a certified mail thing, or can we just mail it, or do you hand
We
it?
certified,
It is
is
certified.
that certified?
Yeah.
They're talking about something else.
Well, I'm talking about the, I guess, the letter for the lien based on the cleanup.
That's all sent out certified mail, wasn't it? I
So
mean,
Joe Paul,
So once our guys go
I hate
in,
to
once our guys go in
It's
and
about
clean up the
105.
property, we send them a bill, and it's not certified. I mean.
The bill's not.
Yeah, the bill itself is not certified. And then I think they have like 10 days to come in and pay. don't pay it in that 10 days, then I get a copy of the deed from the clerk's office, and then I send it on to Stephen. And then he,
Then I'll file the lien from there, and, yeah.
You'll get a motion. Steve? Is that
Yeah.
what we need, a motion
To file.
to where he can go ahead?
Yeah, the file suits and foreclose all the liens we have will be good enough.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
How many do we have? I'm just curious off the top of my
I
head.
think we've got 5 right now in the cooker, so to speak.
Did you second or did Jamie second?
Somebody, Nicole.
I think Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole made a motion and Jamie second.
I said,
Oh, you second, I'm sorry.
that's okay, you can get it, John.
Oh, I didn't second it. I'm just curious if I'm on that list. Yes, I did get it. So I take it.
Ultimately, if we don't do anything, we're just sitting on these,
Quickly.
waiting for time to bring this up again and.
We're setting on things, and I can send you to a house at the south end, and it's growing like mushrooms. I mean, every week you go by, and every day we go by that we don't do something, every week, every month, there's more and more trash. And I looked at this one house, and there's 4 houses right there in the road, and there's one house in the middle of them. One, and the people self-help housing house, the project house, the other 2 houses, yards, everything, what they're supposed to do. And then you got this house sitting in the middle that's got, old boy told me, he said he was waiting for, well, they had a saddle on one of them rats. He said that was coming out of it. And nobody should have to live like that.
Like the Robert Albrecht property. That's horrible.
Councilman Willis?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCann?
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton?
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Peters?
Yes.
All right, we're on the agenda, we're scheduled to go in then to executive session here, but I'm gonna let Alex Halsey here with the Lewis County Health Department and Anita, not Alex. But anyway, go ahead and speak.
I just want to briefly, I told Alex to keep his presentation very short. That's getting late, it's hot in here. If he's just going to give you information, doesn't require a vote, and it will let us check off that we did what we said we were going to do with the grant. That's what Alex is going to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you real briefly, there's things that we can help you do with this blighted property. And one is, somebody mentioned rats. Rats are a vector that cause disease. We'll be glad to help you cite that. That type of thing. And you mentioned houses with no utilities, so what are they doing with their waste? If there's no water, yeah, we can help you with that as well. So I just want to bring that to your attention, and we will do that.
Thank you.
Let me ask you something here. I know it's hot, but you have my sweater. But anyway, what, and I hate to sound petty, I know we're talking about rats, and this might be apples and oranges, or rats and roaches, but what about the roach situation? And the reason is, I've had a complaint, and it's a legitimate complaint, I personally know, is something got taken care of, it all went away, it came back, and it's back, but it's not rats, it's roaches, and when I say roaches.
Many years ago, I presented, I think, about some properties that were roach infected. But I'll tell you this, usually where there's one, there's the other. So usually when you see a lot of roaches, typically there are rats as well. If it is indeed just roaches, it is harder for us to get more involved with that. But like I say, usually if you got one, you got the other. Roach is not a vector, believe it or not. Rats are.
But doesn't roaches cause a lot of allergies that can cause other problems?
I'm sorry?
I read that roaches can cause severe allergies if you're allergic.
Anything can cause an allergy.
Yeah.
It can. They're nasty, they're filthy, and usually they are from a source of filth. So keep that in mind. Again, if it's sewage, something we're all, we get involved with that.
Also, don't they get in, don't they like rotten floors and stuff like that? They get into that as well.
And I'm not the bug lady, but like right, get out my wheelhouse with that. There's a wood roach that you see in shady areas and softwood and that type of thing. It's different genealogy of a bug.
Larry, would you like to elaborate on that? You the bug man.
Allergies is a big part of it. Respiratory problems are the biggest thing that you'll have with cockroaches. When a female drops her sack, it's got 28 babies in it. I don't care how many you cut open or inspect, they all have 28. In 28 days, those are mature enough to have 28 babies. So you got 28 having 28 or 28. And before long, within a month's time, if you don't do something about it, they're completely overrun with roaches. Yes, they're hard to get rid of.
And they are definitely a health hazard.
Yes.
Angie, didn't you say that the house next to you that I'm talking about, the Albright house, I know he doesn't live under that, didn't you say that they had roaches coming from there?
I had a problem with it about 3 years ago. And now I don't personally have them, but I had.
Is that house empty now? Is that house empty?
I hope so.
Yes. But yes, people literally see them crawling out, you know. They haven't been in there and we was in that crazy.
All right, Alice, would you like to speak to it?
Hello, everybody. Long time no see. So, like I said, I want to keep it real short and sweet. I was hoping to get outside where it was warm, you know. So, I'm going to talk to you all about smoking and smoking in Lewis County specifically. Through our grant with the American Lung Association and Kentucky Department of Public Health, we found that 32% of adults in Lewis County are active smokers. This is much higher than the national average of 16% and higher than the state average of 22%. There is a typo in here that I'd like to address. I have key findings that are that 1 out of 3 people smoke in Lewis County. That does not account for children. But I am working with the schools. There is a very prevalent vaping issue, so that number actually could be pretty close. I just can't confirm it.
Is this 32% actually down over the course of some years?
No, this is last year.
But I mean, like in the past, was it higher than that in the past, or is it, has it increased?
It's been about the same. Okay. It's not changed much in the last 4 or 5 years.
When you say smoke, is that tobacco and vape?
Tobacco and vape. I am going to skip the health impacts because basically I made these packets that in the future, if you ever need some information to pass policy, you would have it at your fingertips. But I'm not here to ask for policy change this evening. So if you'd like to skip to environmental impact, I'll go over that briefly. With legislation concerning or policy concerning secondhand smoke, you can prevent pollution, you can help affect the ecosystems. It is actually considered toxic waste. So if you look up the definition, a cigarette butt laying on the street would be toxic waste laying around. And also it takes 2+ years for those cigarette butts to naturally decompose. The next page is for economic impact. We experience higher healthcare costs, lower productivity, lower local spending, and higher insurance premiums as a county due to smoking. A little bit about this because that's fairly broad. Kentucky spends $2 billion a year on smoking-related illness. That's $2 billion that we're not spending locally in our state. I don't have down to the county data on that. Lower productivity, in this term, productivity is people being able to work, and that is lowered, and it is estimated that $6.3 billion are lost each year in Kentucky. Again, I don't have statistics for Lewis County. Local lower spending, so if somebody's spending their hard-earned dollars on tobacco products, they do not have it to spend on other goods and services in the county. And it also comes with higher insurance premiums. I am a licensed insurance agent. There is something called an actuarial, where they determine your insurance premium rates, and that is decided based off of statistics like smoking prevalence. So a higher prevalence means higher insurance rates. A local case study in Kentucky found that through the use of air beam monitors, that indoor air quality is actually very, very low in smoking establishments, and they advocated for health board policy changes. Again, I'm not going to ask for that tonight. There is a state level comparison on the next page that highlights the prevalence in our county compared against the rest of the state. The next page shows e-cig use indoor policies that prohibit use. And some local resources, because you all are the movers and doers of our county. I think it's important for you all to be aware of the resources for your constituents so you can refer to them if needed. The Lewis County Health Department offers smoking cessation classes. I'm actually the one who offers those through a grant by the American Lung Association. There is a quit line where somebody can call at any time, 24/7, and a licensed counselor will actually walk them through the process of quitting using tobacco. Southern Ohio Medical Center of Vanceburg, Kentucky also offers smoking cessation resources. They also can prescribe nicotine replacement therapy, such as lozenges or patches. Also, Osmond's Pharmacy down the street offers the same. The next page shows a quick little breakdown based off of the data that I had available to me. We have a population of about 3,000 people. Of that, roughly 4,000 people use tobacco. And we have, on average, 81 cases of lung cancer per year. And the next page is if you do need policy recommendations, what we, the Kentucky Department of Public Health and the Lewis County Health Department would recommend. But again, I'm not here to do that today. And that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak amongst the council.
Thank you for being so patient.
As you see that we're in the darkest spot of that, but 32% is quite high.
I still may be out of it.
I'm not a good one to speak. I'm like Bill Clinton, I did in hell, so. When we go into comment, we'll go into executive session for a motion.
I'll second.
Executive session.
Yeah, we'll fit
I just figured everybody and now so we'll discuss.
I need to make a motion that we come back in and we discuss legal.
Any litigation?
Any litigation? No other, anything else?
I'm sorry, I was
Who seconded that? I seconded that. Oh, she did?
John.
Do you think roll call, Stephen?
Yeah.
Councilman Willis?
This is to come back from.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Come back.
Councilwoman McCann?
Yes.
Councilwoman Patton?
Yes.
Councilwoman McClure?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cantu?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pugh?
Yes.
Now I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Meeting adjourned.